Plunge into the ocean. Imagine the water closing around you as the surface disappears. Minutes tick by, but you feel no panic, only calm. Your body moving like it was made for this. This could only happen in movies, right? Well, for the Bajau people, this isn't just a movie, it's life. These tribesmen are often called sea nomads. Unlike most people, they don't live in cities or villages. Instead, they spend their whole lives on boats and floating houses, moving from place to place over the sea. They spend hours underwater each day, hunting fish and gathering shellfish. They often dive as deep as 200 feet without oxygen tanks. If you're wondering how they are able to achieve this, stick around and let's spill their secret. Larger spleens. Can you play underwater games? If you can, how long could you last? 10 seconds? 20? Maybe even 30? But soon, your chest tightens and you rush back to the surface for air. Now, picture someone staying underwater for 10 minutes or more without coming up. Incredible, don't you think? The Bajau spend more time underwater than most people spend walking on land. But how can they hold their breath for so long? The answer is hidden inside their bodies, in an organ called the spleen. Your spleen is a small organ inside your body, near your stomach. You don't really notice it, and most people don't even think about it. But it has a very important job. It helps your body store extra blood that is full of oxygen. So when you need more oxygen, like when you're underwater, your spleen squeezes itself and pushes that extra oxygen into your blood. This process helps you stay underwater longer without breathing. Now here's where things get really cool. Scientists have discovered that the Bajau people have spleens that are 50% bigger than normal. This means they can store way more oxygen than regular humans. It's almost like they have a built-in air tank inside their bodies. A bigger spleen means their bodies release extra oxygen into their bloodstream during a dive, extending the time they can stay submerged. But how did the Bajau get bigger spleens? The Bajau people have been diving for thousands of years. Their ancestors spent their lives in the water, hunting for food. Over generations, an evolutionary adaptation took place, reshaping their bodies to survive underwater. Just like how some animals can run faster or jump higher because of their environment, the Bajau people's bodies adapted to life underwater. Scientists believe that over time, the Bajau people's spleens naturally grew bigger because only the best divers survived, meaning that those with slightly bigger spleens could dive longer, catch more food, and take care of their families. So they are the early Bajau that died in the ocean, so they passed on their survival tactics for over hundreds or even thousands of years. That's another reason why they developed this incredible ability. Can other people get bigger spleens? This is the tricky part. Most people can't just make their spleens bigger by practicing holding their breath. The Bajau people's bigger spleens come from their DNA, which means they are born with it. However, freedivers, people who train to dive without oxygen tanks, can train their bodies to use oxygen better. They practice breathing techniques and slowly increase the amount of time they can stay underwater. Imagine what it would be like to be a Bajau diver. What if your body was built for the sea? Would you explore the deep? Would you swim with sharks? Or would you dive down feeling as free as a fish? Let us know in the comments. Genetic adaptations. Genes are like tiny instructions inside every person's body. They tell your body how to grow, how to look, and even how to survive in different places. Some people have genes that make them taller. Some have genes that give them curly hair. But the Bajau people have special genes that help them survive underwater. Scientists have found that the Bajau people have a special PDE10A gene. This gene makes their bodies better at handling low oxygen. This gene changes the way their bodies use oxygen, which makes them more like deep-sea creatures than regular humans. Think of oxygen as fuel for a car. If a car runs out of fuel, it stops working. The same thing happens to people. If you don't get enough oxygen, your body struggles. But the Bajau have a genetic advantage. Their bodies use oxygen much more efficiently than most people. This means they don't need to breathe as often. When they dive, their bodies can stretch out the oxygen they have, making it last much longer. Their muscles also work differently. Instead of using a lot of oxygen quickly, their bodies slow down and conserve energy. It's like a special superhero power that lets them survive underwater much longer than an average person. Who wouldn't want to possess this incredible ability? But unfortunately, most people can't just get this gene by practicing. It's something the Bajau are born with. However, freed divers, those people who train to dive without oxygen tanks, can still learn how to hold their breath longer and train their bodies to use oxygen more efficiently. Rich diet. Scientists have studied them for years and have been trying to lay their hands on all these tribesmen's secrets. And guess what? A big part of their superpower comes from what they eat. The Bajau people eat a lot of seafood, like fish, shellfish, squid, and seaweed. These foods are packed with something called omega-3 fatty acids. Now, that may sound like a complicated science word, but don't worry. It's just a special type of fat found in fish and other seafood. And it's not just any fat. It's a super fat that does amazing things for the body, especially the brain and heart. Speaking of omega-3 fatty acids, check out this other primal hack video on the Inuit diet and how they stay healthy, thriving in extreme conditions with mainly omega-3 rich foods. Now, have you ever wondered why some people are really good at solving puzzles or remembering things easily? That's partly because of omega-3s. These fats help the brain grow and stay strong. The Bajau eat so much seafood that their brains are always sharp, helping them make quick decisions while diving. Whether they are hunting for fish or avoiding dangerous sea creatures, their brains work like well-oiled machines. You see, living on the ocean is not easy. These people need strong bodies, especially strong hearts, to keep up with their active lifestyle. Omega-3s help with that too. They make the heart healthier by keeping blood flowing smoothly and preventing diseases. This is super important because when the Bajau dive, their hearts slow down to help them stay underwater longer. If their hearts were weak, they wouldn't be able to hold their breath for so long. But thanks to their omega-3 rich diet, their hearts are powerful and can handle the pressure of deep diving. Imagine playing an underwater game of tag with your friends, but you never have to rush to the surface to breathe. Sounds fun, right? For the Bajau, the ocean is everything. It gives them food, shelter, and even a way to make money. They fish and dive for pearls to sell, using only simple tools and their incredible breath-holding skills. But their lifestyle is changing. Some Bajau are moving to land, and younger generations are eating more processed foods instead of fresh seafood. Scientists worry that if they stop eating omega-3 rich seafood, they might lose some of their incredible diving abilities over time. The next time you eat fish, remember, you might not turn into a sea nomad overnight, but you're definitely feeding your brain and heart, just like the incredible Bajau people. Bradycardia. Have you ever noticed how your heart beats faster when you run? That's because your body needs more oxygen, so your heart pumps blood quickly to deliver it. But what if you could slow your heart down whenever you wanted? What if, instead of racing, your heart beats slowly and calmly and helps you stay underwater for minutes at a time? This is exactly what happens when the Bajau people dive. Their hearts automatically slow down when they go underwater, helping them use less oxygen. This is one of the secrets that lets them stay underwater for up to 13 minutes or more without needing to breathe. When people go underwater, something amazing happens inside their bodies. It's called the mammalian dive reflex, a special ability found in humans, whales, dolphins, and seals. This reflex slows the heart down and sends more blood to important organs like the brain, heart, and lungs. Everyone has this reflex, but in most people, it's not very strong. These tribesmen, however, have been diving for thousands of years. Because of this, their bodies have become even better at using the dive reflex. Their hearts slow down more than normal, which helps them use less oxygen. Imagine you have a flashlight with a battery. If you leave it on full power, the battery runs out quickly. But if you turn it to a dimmer setting, the battery lasts much longer. The same thing happens with oxygen in the body. When the Bajau dive, their hearts slow down and their bodies use oxygen more slowly. This means they can stay underwater much longer than the average person. Can you train your heart to do this? The good news is that you don't have to be born Bajau to improve your dive reflex. Freedivers practice slowing their hearts by taking deep, slow breaths before diving. Also, staying calm underwater to use less oxygen and practicing breath-holding exercises. While you may never dive as well as the Bajau, you can still train your body to hold your breath longer and use oxygen more efficiently. Expert breath-holding techniques. Before a Bajau diver goes underwater, they don't just take a quick breath. They take long, deep breaths that fill their lungs like a balloon. This special breathing technique is called lung packing or buccal pumping. They do this by taking a slow, deep breath in. Then hold it for a moment, letting their lungs stretch and expand. Take another small gulp of air, packing their lungs even more. They keep doing this until their lungs are completely full. By doing this, they store way more oxygen than normal people. It's like filling up a gas tank before a long drive. The more fuel, oxygen, they have, the longer they can go without refueling, breathing. Oxygen-tolerant muscles. Inside every person's muscles, there's a special protein called myoglobin. Think of it like a tiny oxygen storage tank. When you hold your breath, your muscles use the oxygen stored in myoglobin to keep working. These tribesmen have way more myoglobin than most people. Scientists discovered that their muscles are dark red, just like the muscles of dolphins and whales. That's because their bodies have adapted to life underwater. Their muscles hold on to oxygen much longer, which means they don't get tired as quickly. Let's use a car again as an example. Think of oxygen as fuel for a car. A regular person has a small gas tank, so they run out of fuel quickly when holding their breath. But the Bajau? Their bodies are built like a car with a giant fuel tank. They store so much oxygen in their muscles that they can keep swimming deep underwater for minutes without needing to breathe. If you swim a lot, your muscles get stronger. If you run a lot, your legs get faster. And if you hold your breath a lot, your body learns to store more oxygen. Just like the Bajau, with practice, you can teach your body to use oxygen more efficiently, just like the Bajau. Adapted blood flow. Have you ever swum to the bottom of a pool and felt your ears pop? That's because the deeper you go underwater, the more pressure pushes against your body. Now, imagine diving 200 feet deep into the ocean. The pressure down there is crushing, strong enough to squeeze your chest and make your ears hurt. For most people, diving that deep without special equipment would be dangerous. But for the Bajau people, it's just a normal part of life. They dive without oxygen tanks, without fancy wetsuits, just their bodies. And somehow, they don't feel the same pain and pressure that most people do. How is that possible? When people dive deep, their lungs shrink because of the water pressure. This can make it hard to breathe when they come back up. It can even cause serious injuries. But the Bajau have bodies that are built for the deep, and they do not have injuries. Here's how they handle the pressure. Scientists believe that the Bajau may have rib cages that flex instead of staying stiff. This means that when the pressure squeezes their lungs, their ribs bend instead of breaking. So they have stronger rib cages. Also, when they dive, their bodies send blood away from their legs and arms and into their brain and heart. This helps protect their organs from the pressure and makes sure they get enough oxygen. Their hearts automatically slow down, helping them use less oxygen and stay relaxed, even under extreme pressure. Even though their bodies are naturally adapted for deep diving, the Bajau also trains themselves to handle pressure from a very young age. They dive every single day, getting used to deeper and deeper water. They also learn to equalize their ears, a trick that stops the pain from pressure. They stay calm because panicking makes the pressure feel worse and wastes oxygen. By the time they are adults, they don't even think about the pressure anymore. Their bodies are so used to deep diving that they don't feel the same discomfort that other people do. Seeing underwater without goggles. If you've tried opening your eyes underwater, you'll agree that everything looks blurry and fuzzy, right? That's because water bends light differently than air, making it hard for our eyes to focus. That's why most people need goggles to see clearly underwater. But the Bajau people? They don't need goggles. They can see perfectly underwater as if they were wearing invisible swimming glasses. It's like they have superhuman vision beneath the waves. Bajau children learn to control their eyes in a special way. They can change the shape of their eye lenses, just like dolphins and seals. This helps them focus underwater, turning blurry images into clear, sharp ones. Most people's eyes struggle underwater because light bends differently in water. Bajau children's eyes adapt by squeezing their lenses to focus better. This lets them see fish, shells, and other objects clearly while diving. Training from childhood. Bajau children don't learn to swim in a pool. They learn in the open ocean, surrounded by endless blue water, strong currents, and the vast, mysterious depths below. From the moment they are old enough to walk, they are already wading into the sea, learning to float, dive, and move effortlessly through that water. For them, the ocean is not just a place to swim, it is their home, their playground, and their source of life. One of the most astonishing skills they develop from childhood is the ability to hold their breath for an incredibly long time. At first, it might be just a few seconds, but day after day, year after year, they push themselves to stay underwater longer. They challenge their own limits, slowly increasing the time they can spend beneath the waves. Eventually, their lungs adapt, becoming bigger and stronger. Their bodies learn to use oxygen more efficiently, allowing them to dive deeper and stay submerged for minutes at a time, far longer than the average person. Think of it like this. If you train your legs by running every day, you get faster. If you train your lungs by holding your breath every day, you can stay underwater longer. It's not just about strength. It's about endurance, control, and mastery of the body's natural responses. These tribesmen have developed these skills over generations. They are not just good swimmers. They are among the best natural divers in the world. One of the biggest obstacles to staying underwater for long periods is panic. Have you ever noticed that when you're scared or anxious, you breathe faster? That's because fear triggers a survival response in your body, making you burn through oxygen more quickly. This is exactly what the Bajau learn to control from a young age. Instead of panicking, they train themselves to stay completely calm. When they dive, they move slowly, relax their muscles, and conserve as much oxygen as possible. Every movement is measured and deliberate, just like a fish gliding effortlessly through the water. Because they don't waste oxygen, they can dive deeper than most people could ever imagine. Some Bajau divers have been known to reach depths of 200 feet below the surface, far deeper than recreational scuba divers go. And they do it without any breathing equipment, relying only on their own lungs and years of training. Their remarkable ability isn't just the result of practice, it is also embedded in their biology. So the next time you go swimming, try practicing deep breathing before you dive. Stay calm, move slowly, and focus on conserving your oxygen. Who knows? Maybe one day, you'll be able to hold your breath longer than you ever thought possible. Just like the incredible. While most of us see the ocean as something to visit, these tribesmen live within it, moving like creatures of the deep, free from the limits of land. Perhaps, maybe in another life, you too could have been Bajau. Perhaps, in another world, we all would have been born for the sea. Would you want that? Share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.